Welcome to Englewood After Dark, Episode 12. Here we go again. Englewood After Dark is a serialized horror audio drama, and for the best experience, we recommend starting with Episode 1. Content warnings for this episode include discussions of murder and discussions of suicide.
Hey there, intrepid mystery lovers. Welcome back to Englewood After Dark. I'm your host, Eve Pemberley, relaxed and refreshed after a long winter break. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Finn Nightingale, a man who has just downed 3 Mango Locos.
We've got to bring the energy, Eve. We've had a gap in episodes lately, and this show is no longer a life and death struggle against the big bad evil guy.
So because the show isn't life-threatening anymore, we need to make up the difference?
Exactly.
That sounds exhausting. Sorry, bud. I'm not going to be a passenger on your hype train.
Lame.
You better not crash before we finish recording.
Please. I've chugged more than this before. This isn't even close to my record.
Terrifying.
Anyway, as we were saying, winter break couldn't have come at a better time. Some well-earned relaxation after our victory over the Brotherhood.
It was nice to be away from school. Dad's still giving me the silent treatment.
Awkward.
Well, not half as awkward as I'm assuming your Christmas break was. How did you make Seb agree to you spending Christmas with his family?
Well, it's a hassle to try and visit my parents since they moved, and Seb was surprisingly unwilling to leave me out in the cold.
You didn't pester him at all?
Nope, he's just my big old tsundere roommate.
Oh, he's gonna kill you for that.
No, he won't, because that would only prove my point.
But honestly, what was that like? Because in my head, I'm imagining you sitting at a Christmas dinner table with like 4 or 5 Sebs.
You know, so was I, but in a twist no one saw coming, his parents are possibly the nicest people I've met in my life.
I almost don't believe you.
I know, right? But I swear, his mom baked us Christmas cookies, his dad wears sweater vests, they have family game nights, big Jenga fans.
I quite literally can't even imagine that.
I mean, he was as grouchy as always, but my hand to God, Seb Jenga'd.
Amazing. Well, I'd love to hear more, but I think I'll stop you there so that Seb doesn't full-on kill you the next time he sees you.
Oh, really? Are you sure you don't want to know about how Seb's mom got us all to go out Christmas caroling?
What? Oh, of course No, wait. Focus, Eve. Sycamore. We're talking about Sycamore.
Ah, yes, the famous Sycamore Hall. Home to the cafeteria, the ballroom, and the dorms of a number of our students. Also, thoroughly haunted.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. You're just mad because someone called you out.
I'm not mad. I'm eager to disprove.
Listeners, when we returned to campus, our comment box was packed full of mostly love and support. And from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for your concern and your well wishes. Legitimately, it was just the pick-me-up we needed before going into our next investigation.
But we also got a number of anonymous comments who weren't very fond of the idea of a skeptic investigating Sycamore Hall.
As if that wasn't our entire format. You're all forgetting that this is a battle of wits between Lady Killjoy and Detective Nightingale. Never worry, I will prevail.
Sure you will, buddy. In any case, I'm going to read an excerpt from my personal favourite comment.
By all means.
I get that not every bump in the night is a spook or spectre out for blood, but honestly it drives me insane when people like Eve investigate the supernatural. It'd take a full-on possession to prove it to her, and even then, my guess is she'd deny it and say it was a mental breakdown or something.
Yeesh.
Yeah, yeesh is right. Now, look, anonymous person. I get that it's frustrating arguing with someone who just won't change their opinion no matter how much evidence you provide. I do a show with Finn every week.
Hey, unnecessary sideswipe.
Some people just won't budge, especially emotional people. You can't logic people out of an opinion that they didn't logic themselves into. But really, sit down and ask yourself, how much evidence have you actually presented me? So far, out of all the arguments I've ever heard for the existence of ghosts, there's never been anything that couldn't be explained away by something else. Take Sycamore itself. Most reports are people just hearing creaks, footsteps, and moaning. Well, it's an old building with lots of people, and as I've explained in a previous episode, people use the attic to, well...
To bone.
Thank you, Finn.
No problem. And Eve, I can see where you're coming from, but trust me, I'm gonna make you a believer this time.
And how exactly are you going to do that? Why are you reaching into your bag?
Because I've got this.
Oh, walkie-talkie?
It's not a walkie-talkie, it's a legitimate piece of ghost hunting equipment.
Oh god, did you go and drop money on a PKE meter?
PKE meter? That's from Ghostbusters, Eve. Honestly, you sound ridiculous.
You're right, I sound ridiculous. So what is it you have there?
Dear listeners, in the interest of furthering our ghost hunting careers...
Since when are we ghost hunters? No, I do not consent.
I've made our first investment into some state-of-the-art ghost hunting technology. I present to you the Spirit Box.
Ah yes, much less dumb than what I said. Now I feel silly.
As well you should, Eve. My friends, with this device in my hand, we will finally be able to communicate with the paranormal. Eve wants something credible? I'll give her the scientific evidence she so craves.
Uh-huh. How does this work exactly? Or rather, how is it supposed to work?
Not entirely sure.
Yep, very scientific.
I mean, I'm not clueless. It cycles through radio frequencies at a rapid rate, and the changes in static are measured and translated into words.
How?
Well, that's the part I'm not so clear about, but, I did try it out earlier with a friend, and it totally works.
How much did you pay for this?
Well, nothing, actually. I'm more so borrowing it from someone who wishes to remain anonymous.
Is this the same anonymous someone that loaned you those tarot cards?
Maybe.
So, just to be clear, it's not an investment. You're borrowing some used junk from someone who's just as fixated on ghosts as you are.
Well, it was a favor, which is like a friendship investment.
That's not a thing.
Well, whatever. Doesn't matter how I got it, the point is I'm gonna make you believe in ghosts, and I will finally be taken seriously on this show.
Not likely, but it'll be fun to watch, I'm sure.
That's the spirit. In any case, listeners, we're off for a quick ad break, but when we return, we'll be going deeper into Sycamore Hall and uncovering the mysteries therein.
And later on in the show, we know that we left a few loose ends open regarding our battle with the Brotherhood, so Finn put up a Q&A on our website. We'll be answering your most frequently asked questions before wrapping up tonight.
So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Hey there, intrepid mystery lovers! Valentine's Day is quickly approaching, and I know many of you are preparing for a romantic date night and a wonderful evening. For others, we here at Englewood After Dark can understand this might be a frustrating holiday. And so, the Sigma Chi Frat House has offered their assistance this weekend. For those of you wishing to play Cupid this Valentine's weekend, and by that I mean running around shooting people with a Nerf bow and arrow, Sigma Chi will be hosting a campus-wide game of Assassin this weekend. All you lonely hearts, sexy singles, and even archery enthusiast couples are welcome to take part. Entry is $10 and there are only so many Nerf bows to go around, so get there early for sign-up, as spots may go fast. Happy hunting, everyone! Unfortunately, as I record this, I've been forbidden from playing. I pestered Seb into letting me practice with him, and I bruise like a peach.
Your back looks like a piece of Yayoi Kusama art.
You mean pointillism?
Exactly, but I'm putting this train back on the rails. We've got mysteries to unpack, remember?
Right. So, let's get into the locked room murders. As our perceptive viewers pointed out, Lady Killjoy here was a little quick to dismiss the strange occurrences at Sycamore Hall last year.
Not really.
Oh, hush. Sycamore Hall is actually a place of many sinister happenings. Something my esteemed colleague might have known had she looked into it.
Hey!
What she did. Stop throwing croissants at me. Flaky.
As he was saying, I did look into it after we got some comments about the locked room murders, so we're here to do what we do best.
Kick butt and take names?
Precisely. We're going to dive straight into it. So, the basics. Around 6 years ago, Sycamore Dorm was not the place to be. It was the site of 4 gruesome deaths that all had something in common. They happened inside locked dorm rooms.
They were quickly dubbed the Locked Room Murders. Now, And 2 of those 4 murders are a little more tenuous and weren't actually included in the original grouping, but we'll be talking about them later. First things first, Lady Killjoy.
Vanessa Hart was the first to die. She was a second-year math student, liked by many. Vanessa was alone in the dorm because her roommate, Andrea Cooper, was home with her family for the holidays. Andrea began to get concerned when Vanessa stopped responding to her texts.
So she texted a friend to go over and bang on the door.
Right. Everyone had gone home for the break, so the floor was practically empty. When he got there and banged on the door, there was no answer. Apparently, that spooked him, and so he busted down the door.
You know, I want to do that someday.
Bust down a door?
They always make it look so cool.
You'd just bounce off.
Let me have dreams.
Okay. Anyway, Captain America busted down the door and promptly regretted it. He found Vanessa's body in her bed, and she'd been stabbed 27 times.
Jesus, that's a lot.
Yep. Stabbing someone is actually really hard, and stabbing someone 27 times? That's some superhuman rage, or like PCP or something.
Or... Hey, you were the ones who said superhuman.
Right, what was I thinking?
Hey, we both know that no one corporeal went in and out of that room. The windows are those dumb safety windows that only open 2 inches, and the door was locked.
So ghosts?
Or demonic possession.
Of course. No chance of fairies, though.
Well, unless Vanessa had made some kind of bargain or offended one of them, they aren't really prone to violence for violence's sake.
Right, how silly of me.
Far more likely to be a ghost or a demon.
Or a person.
Hey, if you can prove to me how a human might do something like this, be my guest.
Are you kidding me? I have to prove that a human, something that actually exists, could do this. But I meant to just accept ghosts or demons without batting an eye.
That's fair. I'll go after you.
Fine. Okay, so here's this. The old doors in Sycamore Hall all have an interior bolt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then a very determined human could magnetize the lock and use one of those super strong magnets to open it.
Magnets? How do they work?
Or a hooked sturdy wire could be used, fed under the door, and then hooked over the bolt to pull it closed.
Wow. Those were not the theories I thought you were going to go with.
Well, I mean, Captain America is too obvious. The police had to have been all over him. He had time, was close with the victim, and could have easily lied about the door being locked.
No, wait. I'm still stuck on magnets. That idea came to you that quickly?
While you grew up on reruns of Buffy and Charmed, I watched Murder, She Wrote with my gran.
That's adorable.
And the only books my dad will read are those detective crime books. So I also read a lot of those growing up before I got my library card.
So cute. Are you sure about Captain America?
Yeah, the existence of the next murder kind of throws him out of the window as a suspect. He was accounted for and had a rock-solid alibi.
No strangers on a train type scenario?
Considered it. But by all accounts, Vanessa was well-liked and hadn't done anything to piss off Captain America. Or anyone else.
So your theory hinges on messed up serial killer?
Not necessarily, but I'm leaning that way. What's your theory?
Sometimes the easiest solution is the right one. Ghosts have no need for your paltry corporeal door. They also don't need to worry about leaving behind evidence, of which there was none. They don't get tired, and so could easily stab someone 27 times.
Okay, Ghostbuster. Doesn't that mean that Vanessa had to be haunted?
Or Sycamore Hall. I mean, we already established how old this place is. At least, 12 people have died here.
I was expecting a way bigger number.
I am full of surprises.
But why would a ghost need to wait for the whole corridor to go home for the holidays before striking? They can't be worried about being caught.
True, but that just means it can strike whenever, right?
Yeah, exactly my point.
Oh, no, I was segueing into the next murder.
Oh, shitballs.
Sometimes you play right into my hands, Lady Killjoy.
Gross. Okay. Now let's move on to our second victim, Laurie Lockwood.
And might I add, holy surname, Batman.
Yeah, if this was last semester, we might be concerned.
Honestly, I'm still concerned.
The reason Sir Nightingale here brings Laurie up is due to the nature of her murder.
Laurie and her girlfriend Lily had just returned from their softball game and headed up to their room. Man, lesbians can really luck out on that whole no special guests rule, huh?
Win for equality.
Laurie hadn't played in the game, so she hung out in the room and Lily went to go shower.
Unfortunately for Lily, the bathroom on that floor was out of order, so she had to go upstairs. It always is, even now. By the time Lily got back down there was a crowd.
They'd heard Laurie's screams and they tried to get inside, but the door was locked.
Lily opened it and they found Laurie on the bed, She'd been stabbed 42 times.
Once again, that is a lot.
Yeah.
In the 15 minutes it took Lily to have a shower, her girlfriend, locked in their room, had been killed. So you heard it here first, folks. It's safer to shower in pairs.
Englewood After Dark officially endorses shower sex.
No, you know what? Sure. It's also very effective against getting kidnapped.
Just, have safe showers, guys.
Anyway, once again we have overkill.
Extreme overkill. The first stab would have killed her within moments. It hit her liver.
That is a lot of rage. Maybe even too much rage for any human to have.
So says you. Psychotic rages are real and PCP exists.
Sure, but do they exist in an individual who can then exit a room, lock the deadbolt from the other side with their powers of telepathy, and disappear before the concerned students next door come to see what's coming? Aha! Speechless.
Shut up. Give me a moment.
PCP exists.
Right. First, shut up. Second, all these murders happened in the same building, right?
Right.
Then I'd want to see the floor plan for Sycamore Hall. I mean, old buildings sometimes have tricky little areas like servant stairs or laundry chutes.
Alright, I'm more on board with this idea.
Did I get you with the secret passages?
If it's true, I have revenge plans brewing.
For the bruises?
Yes, for the bruises.
I'm sorry I asked. But at least my idea makes more sense than yours.
Come on, Eve.
Don't come on Eve me like being rational is somehow a dumb decision.
But this is one of those scenarios where even non-believers would start leaning towards ghosts.
Ghosts is such a cop-out. You don't have to come up with anything concrete. You just go woo-woo and make up a story.
Woo-woo?
You know what I mean.
Yes, I do. I'm just delighted I somehow got you to say woo-woo.
Ha ha.
The police were understandably stumped by Laurie's death, right?
Yeah. They came to the conclusion that the only person who could have done it was Lily. They thought she killed her girlfriend and then she went to shower to give herself an alibi and wash away the evidence.
After locking the door from the inside?
Yeah, that part they weren't so clear on. They interrogated her for a few weeks but never got anything out of her. And there was never a murder weapon recovered.
Ghost night.
They even took apart the plumbing to check and see if there was any blood in the pipes from Lily washing it away.
But nothing.
Yep. Lily transferred schools soon after, moving halfway across the country by all accounts.
So you don't think it was her?
No, for serial cases it tends not to be someone we know, and this feels serial, doesn't it?
Yeah, feels like it. Speaking of which, after this short commercial break, we will be back with the other two deaths we found during our preliminary research. So don't go anywhere.
Hi there, STEM people, startup people, and wannabe millionaires. Next week on campus, we have a thrilling visitor, Englewood University alumni Nolan Frisk. Nolan Frisk will be giving a talk over in the Science Institute, and it is open to all students and faculty. Frisk will be talking about his latest green technology, Sunstorm, a new and improved solar panel design. He will also be fielding questions from the audience on everything from renewable energy to the growth potential of your startup company. So if you're environmentally minded or just future-minded, come on down to Lecture Hall 3B on Wednesday at 6 p.m. There will also be a chance to network after the talks with snacks and refreshments provided, so don't miss out.
Sunstore! Store your sun!
Yeah, Frisk isn't the kind of guy that screams ingenious naming talents.
Yeah, for new listeners, you may not know this, but even I actually know Nolan Frisk.
Not like personally.
Right, we had him on the podcast a while back talking about the chapel fire and haunting he witnessed in his second year.
Not a haunting. This was the 2003 arson case. Property damage and chaos caused by drunk students.
Poltergeists.
Sure, bud. But to hear Frisk talk about it was interesting.
Yeah, he's a weird dude. Hella smart, apparently, but weird.
Probably don't want to talk too much smack there, Finn.
In case I also mysteriously disappear.
Finn!
Why are you finning me? It's a well-known conspiracy theory. Everyone knows that anyone who talks smack about Frisk mysteriously disappears, or ends up dead. Like that green tech startup CEO, what was his name again? Derek Smalls?
We have to cut this out in post, Finn. That's too much like Santa.
Fine.
Are we back?
Yeah, looks like. Campus had a bunch of tiny power outages over the winter. Maybe Frisk can fix our electrical system while he's here.
Campus needs a new backup generator, probably.
Yeah. Where were we again?
We're on to Brandon and Beatrice now, our final 2 cases of the night. Cases which, I remind you, were added to our list at your insistence.
Yeah, well, something doesn't sit right about it.
So you claim? Why don't you take us away, Finn?
I would love to. Our final 2 dastardly deaths come as a pair, after both of them were found dead in the same locked room. One Brandon Page and one Beatrice Masters.
Beatrice Masters? Now that's a name that knows its way around some ropes.
Be still, Eve's beating gay heart. Try not to get too excited.
So saith the advocate for shower sex. Does Seb know you feel this way?
Shower pals, Eve. Shower pals. We were shower pals. And it only happened one time.
Noted.
Anyway, what we know is that Brandon was a communications student who used to work at a bakery part-time. And he had a bit of a reputation for his famous brownies.
Oh, for his special brownies?
All brownies are special, Eve. Have you never eaten a brownie? But also, yes, he purportedly made pot brownies on more than one occasion, but that's beside the point.
Called it.
Beatrice, on the other hand, was an art student. So Beatrice had a roommate by the name of Casey, but Casey kept herself busy and wasn't around much. Meanwhile, Beatrice and Brandon were very close. Just how close they were is the source of a lot of debate. Brandon spent a lot of time in Beatrice's room, and without Casey around, nobody knows exactly what they were doing in there.
Whatever happened to the no visitors policy?
That's the interesting bit. Brandon, so people say, was super ultra mega deluxe gay.
Wow, Mega Deluxe? They don't give just anyone that title, you know.
Tell me about it. They've been refusing my promotion for years. Anyway, from the sound of it, he was friends with a few of Beatrice's neighbors who didn't want to tattle on him. Many accounts paint a picture where Beatrice and Brandon were their own little support group for each other.
Aw.
Right? Which is why I don't buy it when the police ruled these deaths as a murder-suicide following a lover's quarrel. Now, I don't know about you, Eve, but I don't ever envision myself getting into a lover's quarrel with my platonic gay friends who I'm not attracted to.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, exactly, but it raises questions about what exactly happened.
So, how were they found? When and by who?
The 2 of them were found by Casey as she returned home for that night. Casey claims the door was locked, and she has several witnesses that verify her whereabouts before this point. She screamed when she went inside, which drew a crowd of other students to investigate. They found Beatrice and Brandon alone inside that room, both stabbed. Beatrice had been stabbed 6 times, and Brandon had, 2 long incisions on his wrists.
I'm gonna be honest, this one sounds a little more straightforward than the others, Finn.
Then where's the murder weapon, Eve? The 2 had clearly been stabbed by some kind of knife, but no weapon was found in the room. It couldn't have been Casey. Like I said, she had a busy routine, and a dozen people could vouch for her location at any given point. It was only Beatrice and Brandon in the room when they died.
Okay, let's discount the dumb heteronormative narrative of a lover's quarrel. What evidence do we have to suggest this wasn't some other murder-suicide?
Once again, 2 people were stabbed, and no stabbing implement was found. That means something removed the murder weapon from the room. And since the door was locked, that meant the assailant couldn't escape through the doorway. They needed some kind of non-physical exit.
Hang on, didn't you just say a crowd gathered in and around the room when Casey screamed? That's a whole lot of physical people who could have lifted a murder weapon from the scene of a crime.
What? Who would steal a bloody knife from a murder scene?
Someone with poor impulse control? Someone who picked up a murder weapon and realized suddenly that their DNA was now all over it and they needed to hide it?
What kind of an idiot would just pick up a blood-soaked knife on impulse? Yeah, I regretted that as soon as I said it.
Yep. But even in the face of that very real possibility, you're about to tell me it's demons, aren't you?
Ghosts, Eve, not demons. Ghosts come with all the trappings they died with, up to and including ghost knives. Even if someone took a knife from the room, I think somebody would have seen it happen. But we have no reports of knives at all. Nada, none, zilch. The autopsy report leaves no doubt that the murder weapon was a knife, but one wasn't found.
Sorry, Sherlock, but I'm gonna side with rational explanation. We've already seen that Englewood has a less than stellar mental health record. It's almost uncanny how much evidence there is to point towards underlying depressive factors here. And simply, some people just snap sometimes.
First Schmidt, now this? You really gonna chalk everything up to mental health and drugs? Isn't that awfully coincidental? Too coincidental?
Not even a little bit. People are depressed, Finn. Listen to yourself. Besides, you're basically fishing for atypical neurological conditions, especially when you're investigating cases like we are.
So you're still sold on murder-suicide?
You're the one pushing for ghosts, Finn. You're the one who has to explain yourself. I mean, if this is some kind of tormented soul like you think, then explain the stab wounds.
Well, when a ghost and his ghost knife hate somebody very much...
I know how stab wounds work, Finn. I room with Carmen. I'm talking about the number of stab wounds. Vanessa stabbed 27 times. Laurie, 42 times. Brandon and Beatrice together had only a third of Vanessa's stab wounds.
Which is something that worries me, actually. The circumstances of the killings, the locked rooms, I mean, are similar and the time frame checks out, but why are there slight differences?
See, this is where most people would see the gaping holes in their theory and dismiss it. But I know you, Finn. I know you're about to veer sharply 180 degrees and land on something even wackier.
The ghost changed its MO to throw investigators off its scent.
And there it goes. I'm getting a drink. And a donut.
Oh, I brought tea, actually. Here.
Why did you bring tea?
Why, Lady Killjoy, did you forget about my plans to reintroduce the marvelous, the magical, Finn's Occult Corner?
I must have violently scrubbed the thought from my mind. So you're not using the spirit box thing?
Actually, I'm looking to branch out and develop my divination ability after our discussions tonight. Also, because I don't have any AAA batteries. Instead, I'm going to divine Eve's future by performing a tea leaf reading, or tasseography, in scientific terms.
Actually, I'm pretty sure the scientific community has a much less flattering word for tea leaf reading.
But that's going to be a fun surprise for later. I'll nominate Eve as our official tea drinker, because serving her tea is possibly the only way to get her involved with divination. So now that Eve has been distracted with tea, we can explore the sinister intricacies of these last two murders. Namely, the logical assumptions we can make about a ghost who's making a conscious effort not to be caught.
Making tea as fast as I can to cope with Finn's bullshit.
The implication here is an interesting one. Why would a ghost care about being caught? Why would a ghost care about staging a murder-suicide? I'm no expert on ectopsychology, but I think we can assume that the ghost has some kind of obsession with going unseen.
Don't attach your ghost words to the good name of psychology.
No witnesses have actually seen the deaths happen. Even Laurie was only stabbed once Lily left the room. In both these cases, the ghost acted when its target was alone. In the case of Brandon and Beatrice, we see an exception to this rule. Both were present in the same room, but in this case we also see another exception to the rule, a staged murder-suicide.
Two occurrences does not set a precedence for which exceptions can be identified, Finn.
The commonality to all these murders is that the ghost doesn't want to be attributed to these killings. Perhaps the spirit was an introvert in life. Shy, perhaps. Afraid of consequences and ultimately avoidant.
Or perhaps it was hiding from the ecto-police.
Don't be ridiculous, Eve. While policemen ghosts are a logical occurrence, ghost policemen are entirely irrational.
The fuck?
But that doesn't mean ghosts have nothing to fear. We're all aware that ghosts are vulnerable to exorcism when a mortal interloper can identify their connection to the physical realm. The staged murder-suicide would point toward a fear of exorcism. Why else would it bother with hiding its involvement?
Oh, would you look at the time? The tea's made and we're approaching the end of our recording. Moving on to the Q&A before I exorcise you from this room, Finn.
Okay. Sheesh. Before you start drinking, you need a specific matter in mind. Something you'd like insight into.
Can't I just drink the damn tea?
Absolutely not.
Ugh, fine. Let's stick with something basic then. Oh, great teacup of wisdom, tell me about my true love to be.
Perfect. You may begin drinking.
Well, it's still boiling hot.
Oh, right. Never mind. Okay, before our tea leaf reading commences, we've had a lot of questions fielded our way regarding any fallout from Schmidt, the farm, and the Brotherhood of Oak and Ash.
Obviously, there are a number of things that we can't talk about. Things that are involved in the ongoing investigation. So we can't discuss them too much.
which unfortunately means we can't tell you any of the really juicy stuff.
But we have picked a few questions we can answer, which we'll go into now.
First question for Finn and Eve. Last year you started investigating Ludwig Schmidt and the farm, but you veered toward the Brotherhood of Oak and Ash towards the end. What was your conclusion on the farm itself and Schmidt? Did you discover anything else?
And this is a rough one to answer, but it's important to start with it. Any reasonable leads we found seem to end with the Brotherhood of Oak and Ash. Once we have publicly available information about the Brotherhood, we'll return to this case and see if we can put it all to rest. But until that point, there's not a lot more we can follow up on.
Which I'm very unhappy about, in case you didn't notice. But our next question is a more innocuous one. If the Brotherhood held their meetings under the library, then what were they doing in the old gym building? Sorry, listeners, but this one has a super boring answer.
Now, by Finn's standards, anything mundane constitutes as boring, but I'm inclined to agree with him on this one. Samuel was actually able to dig up the reason for the change in scenery.
Busted pipes.
Yep, the library basement flooded, and the roofs were off limits for cleaning and reconstruction.
Super boring.
Did the Brotherhood kill Amber Reed?
Yikes, that's one of the ones we can't really get into. As are the pointed questions about Darcy Bennett. Sorry, everyone.
Lots of death-related questions here. Did the Brotherhood kill Marshall Moore?
Also can't answer. This Q&A kinda sucks. Where's a good one? Why does Carmen carry a knife? That's actually a pretty simple one. Carmen's mother and father are survivalists, and it turns out a simple knife is really useful for all kinds of things.
Okay, tea done.
Ah, good. Now you need to swirl the cup 3 times. Clockwise, I think.
Swirl, 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 and here's your teacup, Nightingale. Do your absolute worst.
Perfect. So, in simple terms, the rim at the top here represents the immediate future, the bottom of the cup is the far future, and midway up is the near future. Make sense?
I have basic listening comprehension, so yes.
Your snark tells me that you're listening. Anyway, leaves grouped closer to the handle symbolize your immediate area and a close proximity, whereas leaves on the opposite side symbolize exterior influences. So now, what I'm going to do is search for any significant symbols to interpret. Like, see over here, there's a large grouping of leaves about halfway up.
Finn, what's that shape?
Shush, Eve, I'm interpreting it.
It looks kind of like...
I'm interpreting it, Eve!
dick. It's in the shape of a dick, Finn. Do you really believe there's a penis in my future love life?
Maybe it's a scepter? Lots of things are phallic in shape. It could represent royalty.
How many scepters have balls?
Damn it, tea leaves, you really let me down today.
Okay, I think we're gonna call it here and spare Finn the embarrassment. We're gonna do some more digging on these locker room murders.
And I might just bring back my tarot cards, because tea leaves are nothing but lies and false promises.
Or maybe you could even remember the batteries you need for your spirit box.
I knew you were excited about that.
Shush. And I appreciate that while Finn can suspend his disbelief of many things, me being in a heterosexual relationship is too much even for him. So long.
Farewell.
And let's not bring up the fact that Finn forgot strap-ons exist.
You just listened to Englewood After Dark, starring Dennis Ortman as Finn Nightingale and Hannah Brown as Eve Pemberley. Written and sound designed by Hannah Brown, Dennis Ortman, and A. Rose. On-air music was provided by the talented Athen. Opening music by Nicholas Gasparini.